Hey everybody, what's going on? I am here. It's Angelique. It's 7 o'clock. I try to get started on time every single time. So it is good to be back in the house. Welcome to Silent No More. You guys know what this is. This is my weekly domestic violence awareness podcast. It's Silent No More. You guys know I was a survivor of domestic violence. I went through all of that, and here I am doing the work in the field to make sure that people are aware, that you specifically are aware of how dangerous this thing can be. My hope is that you never, ever experience it, because I wish I never did. But there's a reason that I'm here. There's a reason God gave me this voice, and I'm going to keep using it. So, hello, all my courageous queens and my courageous kings. Welcome to episode number 11. Can y'all believe it? This is episode number 11 of my weekly podcast, Silent No More. I'm Angelique Pierce. I am the founder of Ladder Masters Group. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, an advocate of freedom and truth, and just somebody that's going to tell it just like it is, period. Now, listen, I don't see anybody on here just yet, so I am going to make sure I share this to my page because I want to make sure you guys join in. I want to make sure that you join in to this very important message. So let me go ahead and put it out there to my news feed and tell people to join, because you guys cannot miss this. It's alive, and I want to make sure that you see it. I've got a special guest today. Awesome. So, all right, you guys know me, Ladder Masters Group. I created Ladder Masters for three important reasons, period. I tell people all the time, I only speak for three reasons. And if you ever hear me speaking for any other reason, tell me to shut up and shut my mouth. Number one is to bring awareness, period. People don't know. They think they do, but they don't. Number two is to break down facades. There's a lot of myths. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of wrong information out there about domestic violence, and I'm here to help clear it up. And number three is to build conquerors, whether that's in your personal life, professional life, and especially for domestic violence victims and survivors. So today, I have a special guest with me, survivor, speaker, community advocate, the man of the hour, Mr. Erik Vasser. I am going to bring him on in just a second. Erik, let us see who you are. I want you to say hello to everybody. Awesome.
Blessings, peace, blessings to everybody.
It is so good to see you. Listen, we've got people who are going to be joining the show. They're not on yet because I'm waiting. If you can, Erik, while you on here, you probably can. But others, share it. Seriously, when you're on here, share it. Share it. Tag people in this. Share it to groups. Share it to whoever. Anyone who's watching live, and we'll get to see the video later. I'm looking forward to them getting a chance to really understand what your story is. So I'm going to bring you right back in just a few seconds. All right. All right. Okay. All right. So welcome to my weekly podcast. But do me a favor. Find that share button on your screen. Find it. Hit share. Tag somebody, whoever that somebody is. Post it to a group that you may be a part of. I mean, this episode is essential. It's very important. This is a big deal. All right. So I'm going to bring Erik back on here. We're going to have a quick conversation because there is something important that I do, Erik, every single time I do a podcast. So would you join me back on the screen just for a second, my dear sir? Join me back on the screen. What I like to do is I like to say a prayer. And I like to say a quick prayer, Erik, before I ever do any podcast, because for me, I believe it's important to invite God into these moments, because a lot of times we think we know what we're saying. We think we know. But the best case scenario is to have him with you when you're speaking. So now I just want to say a quick prayer. I'm going to bow my head. Father, we thank you for this time together. It's so important. The things that we have to say, the things that we've been through. There was a time when we wouldn't even speak about it. So I just thank you right now for our voices. I thank you for where the ears and the minds that our voices will impact. I thank you that you are real and that you are in our lives, and that we are here today to even speak about this and send this message and try to deliver it as far as it can be delivered. And now, speaking to every victim and every survivor of domestic violence, I just thank you right now, from my heart to yours. I pray, always pray, for your courage to get out and your strength to stay out. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, so let me do a couple of acknowledgements. This podcast is powered by the UB Podcast Network. UB meaning Unique Blessings. And Unique Blessings is a nonprofit organization that is founded by none other than Miss Queen Unique, Chantel Evans. And I also want to specifically say thank you to a person by the name of Mr. Jacob Anderson, because I would not have met you, sir. I would not have met you were it not for him. And he typically jumps on here and he's got like these crazy questions, Eric. Oh my God. They'll be like a compound question, like 4 questions in one question. They're like, oh, we gotta divide this thing up, brother. Like it's a lot of these questions. So anyway, this is awesome. And I thank you for your time. So I want to say a few things about you to get this started. This is the little piece I do know, because I'm going to leave it up to you to tell us the rest of the story, right? All right. So this brother is from a town in Illinois called Mounds, which I never knew of until I met you. And it's, I think you said 5 hours south of Chicago, so it's closer to the bottom of Illinois.
Yeah, way at the bottom. Yeah.
Way at the bottom. And so, again, real quick, let me take a break. If you are watching, please do share this out to whatever group you're on. Tag whoever in this to keep this thing going, to make sure we are sharing this message. All right. So you currently reside in Columbia, South Carolina, which is a good hour from where I am out here in Fort Mill, South Carolina. But Erik is a military man. He has proudly served our country in the U.S. Army since October of 2015. And you are a specialist. I think you say your rank was E4.
Yeah.
I love it. Erik is also ASE certified auto mechanic. It's so funny because I don't know if you remember, but I'm in the trucking industry and I spent some time on the Chrysler side, but now I'm on the commercial truck side with Freightliner. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, we could probably have a couple conversations. Don't ask me to fix it. Don't ask me to fix it though. I can't fix the car though. I might have a good conversation with you, but I can't fix the car. All right. But the cool thing is, and not surprising, because look where you are, you also enjoy the outdoors.
Oh yeah, most
very much. Hey, now fishing, I've done it a few times, only at corporate events though. I ain't lying. I haven't just like going out fishing. Oh, yeah. It was like a part of something else.
Yeah. If you ain't walking through the trees to get to that water, you ain't no fisherman.
No, I ain't doing that. See, that's too much. That's all I hear is bugs. That's all I hear, bugs when you say that. So fishing, hunting, you like to travel. So do I. I love it. Now get this. His favorite quote, y'all. This is probably one that we've all heard and probably said at some point in time, but really didn't give it its just due. Y'all ready? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. 100%. If you never even take a chance, you can just forget it, right? So Wayne Gretzky, which I didn't know that's who said it. All right. And also Erik is the proud daddy of 3 beautiful children. Erik the third, Cameron J, and I don't know if you like, is it Kaylin or Kylan? Kylan Marie. I love those names. I love them. Oh my gosh, look at this. Now, Laura is somebody I work with. She's in another part of Daimler. Thank you for joining. Listen, if you are on here, I get it, it's Sunday. Y'all might be eating dinner and all that, but if you jumping on here, I need you to share this, tag somebody, do whatever it is, and get more people to join in this conversation. I just lost my earring, Erik. Did you see that fall out? Right on camera. We're gonna put that thing right back because I'm cute. We're gonna put it right back in. Look right there. All right, here we go. All right, I'm back. All right. So Erik, welcome to you.
Thank you.
I have said so many times to you, thank you for your message. I cannot wait to get into this conversation with you. Thank you for being a guest. This is my 11th episode and you are about to make this thing real special. So we got a lot of ground to cover. You ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let me give you a little background. So this is something I didn't necessarily share with you. All right, I see people joining in. Make sure you share this. I don't care. Take a moment. Just stop. Share it to a group. Tag somebody that you know needs to hear this. Please do. Please do that. All right, today's episode is called It's Time to Jump. Breaking free from the cycle of abuse. And there's a reason. And I want to tell you a quick story, Erik, because this should kind of be the foundation of how we have this conversation and the basis of it. So I did a training back in 2018 and the facilitator told us the story. And that story just stuck with me. So I'm going to say it real quick right now. It's not going to be as good as she told it, but the bottom line is she told the story and I thought it was great. And she said, if you put a frog into boiling water, I mean, like put it suddenly into really hot water, then it's going to jump out because obviously it's going to be shocked. But if you put it If you put that frog into lukewarm water and then you slowly bring it to a boil over time, the frog's not going to notice the change as the temperature rises because they don't perceive the danger because it's happening so slowly. Now, having spent all of its energy, but at some point that water is going to get too hot for it. At some point, those less noticeable temperature changes are going to get to the point where that water is boiling. And if you don't know, boiling point is 212 degrees. You probably do know that. Now, having spent all of its energy adjusting to the changes of temperature, adjusting to the danger, the frog will no longer have the energy to jump. And what's going to happen? It's going to get cooked to death, period. So like that frog, victims of domestic violence have to jump before it's too late. So, Erik, you jumped. Look, technically, you were forced to jump. Thank God spared your life.
Yeah.
And it's your story of jumping that we are going to get into today. All right, so here we go. I got all my questions. Y'all know I prepare. I tell y'all that all the time. But listen to me. Erik and I are going to have a conversation. We're about to have a conversation. But before we get into my questions, is there anything you want to say, Erik, just before we get started?
I just want to say thank you again for having me. You know, it's always a pleasure to speak on these situations. It's always it's therapy for me, like I told you. You know what I mean? It's more so me being able to actually sit, talk one-on-one about something that I go through on a day-to-day. Nobody really understands, you know, what a person that has dealt with it before goes through on a day-to-day. And, you know, I try to make the best of it. You know, that's why I'm happy for my kids. I'm happy to have life.
Yes.
But other than that, you know, like I said, I just thank you for having me. And, you know, hopefully we can spread this awareness. And I get a lot of good questions towards the end. You know, we just make it happen.
Absolutely. All right, so here we go. You ready?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Here's my first thing. And I got to ask you this because I typically do ask when people come on the show, I do ask this question first, which is that a lot of survivors of domestic violence, they admit that they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not easy to discuss. They're ashamed to admit that they even went through it. So why are you personally willing to come on the show and talk about your story? You kind of said it, but let's get into a little bit more.
It's more so like, you know, where are we going to make the change at? You know, me and I'll always put with that stereotype, oh, you a man, you got to be strong. Oh, you a man, you can't show no emotion. You can't show this, you can't show that. And to me, I think that that's one of the most disrespectful terms and stereotypes in the world. Because, I mean, you think about it, the man has to be a husband. He has to be a father. He has to be a caretaker, just like a mother.
Yeah.
Even though there's no love like a mother's love, a father still has to take on that because a father is now taking on the life of you if y'all are married and the child. So it's like a father has to be happy within himself to be able to succeed in life. And if you are so caught up in the stereotype, oh, a man ain't supposed to have feelings or, you know, things like that, you don't really need to. You need to reevaluate how you move in life because my feelings should matter just as much as your feelings should matter to me. And
absolutely.
If we ain't on the same page, then we have nothing to talk about. And, you know, I've dealt with that a lot. You know, people like, well, you know, we're not supposed to show emotion. We're supposed to be tough and this and that, which is true. But at the end of the day, we're still human, you know, and we still have feelings. You know, we still are supposed to be those ones that your wife is supposed to confide in, or, you know, I'm gonna just say spouse because, you know, but, you know, your spouse is supposed to be able to confide in you. And, you know, if you got this wall up to where, oh, I can't show no emotion around her, or I can't, you know, if I can't be myself around you, I don't need to be with you. You know what I mean?
Agree.
And
I agree.
And that's just how I take it. You know, if I can't be myself to where something happens to where I need to show emotion, I need to know that I'm not going to get laughed at about it or look down on. So, you know,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that perspective. And you're right. There are gender roles and expectations of how people are supposed to be and act and what they're supposed to do. And, some of it makes sense. Like you said, I get that. I get the being strong. I get the being whatever. But come on, like it can't be that at all times.
Yeah, I can't be
And
on, I can't be on guard 24/24. Like I gotta have time to actually be me. You know what I mean?
what about the healing part? I know you talked to me about that a little bit.
The healing part, it was slow for me, all because I was dealing with so much at one time. Um, but it sped up over time. It was one of those situations where me not having my son, me not having nobody to turn to, I just had myself. I had to get back up on my feet, and come back I had to come back around to being myself again. And it was kind of hard, but I took the classes for it, I took the courses for it, and once I did that, it helped a little bit. But then once I was actually able to get out and start doing my own thing, like being able to travel again and do the things that I like doing, I started filling my day with things to actually not really think about it. It's only up until I go to sleep or when I'm by myself when all those problems arise, when I'm actually
Yeah.
like in deep thought. But other than that, the healing part, it was slow for about 6 months. But once I got back up on my feet, following year of 2018,
Yeah.
I started to look up, and it got better. So I'm still healing every day. I'm not perfect. I'm not 100%, but I'm still able to be who I am. I'm still able
Yeah.
to be the life of the party. I'm still able to always be the one with a smile on his face, regardless of what. I could be just got cussed out 20 minutes ago because I didn't see him. But when I'm still gonna keep that same face. I'm still gonna be happy at all times. So
Love it.
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So listen, I know, like that domestic violence can be, there's so many types of abuse. And people try to define it. I know a lot of times people think of the physical side, right? They think of, I always say that movie, What's Love's Got to Do with It? The Tina Turner story and what she looked like. And that's what most people perceive it as. But it could be emotional, it could be financial, it could be spiritual, sexual, and yes, physical. I want you to tell us, and thank you for doing this, like tell us the story of your abuse and survival. And if you can tell us like which components were the greatest. So let's just kind of back up to your story.
Okay. And when you say component of what was
Yeah. Yeah. Well, was a lot of emotional abuse? Was a lot of mental, psychological stuff? Was it
it was
financial? What
it
was the
it was a mix of all of them. The physical didn't get worse until the actual night happened, but
Yep.
it was a little bit of all of them. It
Yeah.
was so like, I'm gonna stick it out, 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 and that was always my mindset. I got married young. I was like 21. Yeah, I was 21. I got married in 2016. 21, and really wasn't a high school sweetheart, but it was somebody that had been talking to for a long time, and she ended up pregnant, and it was one of those situations where now I actually have to step up and be a dad because I'm not allowing nobody else to raise my kid. So that's when I enlisted in the military. 2015 is when I enlisted. I married her the following year, um, and things were okay once when we were married because I wasn't there. So like when I left, because I got stationed in Korea as my first duty station when I graduated, I was gone for a year. So
Yeah.
my grandma always told me that the first year of marriage is always going to be the toughest. And when I got hit that I was going to Korea, that hit me twice as hard because it's like now I got to try to make a woman happy and I got to try to excel in my career. So problems came and went when I was gone. We never really had any financial. Money was okay. She didn't have to work, and it was with just her and my son. So I made it to where she didn't have to work.
You
But
made it to where she didn't have to work.
yeah,
Okay.
I always told her it's optional. If you feel like, hey, I need to get out the house and all right, fine, that's cool. But she ended up, year went by, she was perfectly fine with sitting at home, taking the year off for me to get right in the military, and I appreciated it and I respected her more for that because she didn't have to, but she did. And fast forward to 2017 when I came back. I came back in March. When I
Yep.
came back in March, it's like everything just it's like everything completely changed, and I don't know what it was. I don't know. But we moved to South Carolina in about like April time frame of 2017. This was her first time ever leaving home. This is her first time ever leaving her mom's. This is her first time ever doing a lot. It was a new everything for her. Everything that
Okay.
it was new surrounding, new area, new house, new everything. So I knew it was going to be some problems with that. So I remember having to sit down with her. I remember us talking, and I remember me asking her before we left. I was like, "Before we do this, are you sure this is what you want to do?" Before because we did a it wasn't a do-it-yourself move, but we had two cars. I had a truck and
Mhm.
she had a car. So I had went and got a dolly from the U-Haul, and the day of us leaving, we spent time with all our families. And before I loaded her car up on my truck, I said, are you sure you want to do this? Like, if you want to wait a couple months before you come down, so you can do that. But we was married at the time, so she was like, no, I'm ready.
I'm your
So
wife. Let's do it. Yeah.
and that's how it went. She was like, I'm your wife. Let's go. So we ended up, got on down to South Carolina, and we got here, like I say, in April. May came, then that's when I turned 22. When I turned 22 in May. So I can't remember if we did anything, but we still weren't having any problems. The problems didn't come until towards the end of the summer,
Okay.
and
This is where it starts to change here, right?
so um, we had our, every couple has arguments, but it never got to a point to where it was physical. It was always I'm cussing, she cussing, I'm cussing, and then we just leave it alone and just let it go. So
Right.
like, we always found our way back. We've always been like that. Like we can argue tomorrow, and the next, we can argue today, and tomorrow we'll be okay. But we know that we'll never be together again. But we still have that mutual respect to it, where you get on my nerves, you get on my nerves too. But the next day would be, it'll be better. But
Now, let me catch everybody up real quick. For those who are watching, the question that Erik is answering right now is that there are many components to domestic violence. He's telling the story of kind of like what life was that led up to this situation of abuse with his wife. And so we're about to hear more about the components of what actually went down where this abuse started to become obvious and more difficult to deal with. So go ahead, Erik.
so fast forward till about July. Um, July was a pretty tough month because we had an argument and she was like she wanted to leave. So I was like, well, it's kind of hard for you to leave when you got the only car right now because in while we were traveling here, my truck ended up messing up. So I ended up having to take her car off of the dolly, and it was a whole bit. It was a lot. So
Yeah.
dealing with that, it was a lot. I was under a lot of stress. I just paid for this truck, and now I got to send it back. So it was a lot going on. Um, so she wanted to go back to her mom's house, and in this situation, the police was called, the MPs was called because I guess the neighbors heard us arguing back and forth, and we was arguing for like an hour or so. They came over and they tried to see what was going on, and she told them that she wanted to leave, and the officer was like, "Well, who name is the car in?"
Right.
And I was like, "It's in her name, but I pay for it." He was like, "Well, in this situation, she gets the car, and she got the kid." So she left for about a week, and it left me with catching rides back and forth. But I lived on post, so it wasn't bad. And that's when the mental abuse started because now I'm stuck trying to figure out how I'm make it to back and forth to work on time and this and that and this and that. So she ended up coming back, and then August is when her birthday is. So um, went the whole month of August, everything was okay. Probably had a couple misunderstandings about, oh, did you pay this bill or did you pay that bill? Oh, why didn't you pay it? Little stuff. And we ended up traveling back home for her birthday. We came back we went back to Kentucky for her birthday. Came back home, and when September came, she was like, "I want a job." I was like, "Okay, what did you want to do?" Like, it's programs and stuff through the military that will give you like first grabs at any job that's available.
Mm-hmm.
We went and we sat down with one of my financial advisors, and he gave her a list of jobs. And he was like, whichever one you want, apply for, and go from there. So, she applied for it. She applied for a job. She got the interview. She went to the interview, and she came back. She was like, now I got to go back the next day for a drug screening. So I'm like, okay, cool. She didn't smoke. What I thought. She did, because that was one of the things that she had problems with. She didn't want to stop smoking, but with us living on post, she had to stop.
She had to. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I told her I didn't have a problem with it because I don't smoke. You know what I'm saying? But like now that we're moving to a new place and I can't have that, like it can't happen.
Absolutely.
She respected it, or what I thought I thought she respected it. So, we ended up having another argument about the car. So by that time in September, I had saved up enough money. I went out and I bought myself another truck. I was just like, at this point, I need my transportation. So I went and bought another truck. And
do you feel like, Eric? Do you feel like was she being just difficult with you with the vehicle? Is that kind of like this? This was
she knew she had that. Once she knew she had that authority to take the car whenever she wanted to. If something didn't go her way, so
she took the car.
That would be her outlet, because she know that I need the car to go to work. So I went back a month. I went back to September is when I bought the truck. Moving forward to November. November is when everything happened.
When everything happened.
November is when everything.
Is this when I need to go to the next level question?
everything changed in November. So November came and we were arguing a lot more than usual. And it wasn't even about money. It was just, she thought I was doing this and she thought I was doing that. I would have to work late. She would think I'm with somebody, and I would FaceTime her to show her that I'm at work. I even got an iPhone to show her that I'm working.
So let's stay right here for just 1 second, because this is the stuff that people have to understand. What were the basis of the arguments? Were they mostly about cheating? What were the arguments? Did you find yourself in them and you're like, how the hell did we get here? Like, what was the situation with the arguments and the content of the arguments?
It would be like, basically, like she think I'm doing something, or I think she's doing something. Like I say, I wasn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a real bad sixth sense. I'm gonna put that out there.
Okay.
I have 5 senses, but I got a sixth one. And whenever I feel that sixth sense, something is not right about a situation, and that's any situation.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever that happened, when that situation happened, where we were arguing more, I'm like, something's going on, and I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
One way or another, I'm gonna find out. So
yep.
One night, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I get a phone call. It's from her. And she was like, can you come get me? I think the tire had went flat. And I was like, yeah, I'm on the way. Don't worry about it. It happens. And I'm like, where are you at?
Right.
I was confused. I'm like, where are you at? Anyway, she was like, oh, I just ran to the store. I think I was asleep or something. She just, left. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right. So I pull up and I change the tire, get it back to the house. And I'm like, why was you on that side of town when it's a gas station right outside the gate? So like, now it's starting to hit me. Now I'm like, okay. I didn't say nothing. I just let it go. So a couple weeks went by, and this was October. This was October when all of this was going. When I like through the September, October, and November. This is when everything go down here. So I forgot to ask her about the job interview. And she was like, "Oh, I got to go back." I think she had to go back like October the 12th or some crazy date like that to do the drug screening.
Right.
So that day came, and I'm like, "Do you need me to get off early so I can get him, my son, so you can go to your interview?" She started arguing. I'm not going. I don't want to do it. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. You ain't had to do all that. You could just tell me you weren't going. All right. Anyway, so moving forward, about a week after that, I get another call. Where are you at? I'm like, I'm at the house. Where are you at? Oh, I locked the keys in the car. Can you bring the other set? Okay, I'm on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So this time, I'm going to a whole nother direction. I'm like, where is she? Like, what? I'm going to places that I got a GPS because I ain't never been there myself.
Right.
So I get there. I'm like, what are you doing over here? Oh, you had made me mad. I was like, we ain't been arguing though. So.
And let me recall, in these situations, you're finding her in places where
I ain't never been.
Don't make sense.
Don't make sense.
But if I recall what you said earlier, the accusations were coming from her about cheating to you, etc. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And so we unlock the car, we go home. So we get back to the house, and I'm like, man, what do you got going on? Just tell me, like, whatever it is, just tell me what it is. So she goes on and she tells me that she has been going to see guys. Like, I don't think they were sexual or anything like that, but I guess they were smoking together. So like, she secretly had a dating app that I didn't know nothing about, and she was meeting up with guys to smoke with them. My son was in the car. It was a big
mess.
So now I'm mad. So I went slap off. I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I just can't do it no more. So from that point up until the incident,
it was rough.
It was rough, but I acted like I didn't care. Like, I acted like I was standing on what I was going to do.
I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear, because in these situations, some of them feel like it's relationship drama, right? You feel like that, but these people that she's meeting with, I mean, I can only imagine what that was all about. You can only imagine, you try to put it aside. But did you find yourself were you spoken to in a certain way that you just felt was completely disrespectful? Was it completely unhealthy behavior? What was the basis of the interactions between the two of y'all?
It was just one of those situations where I just remained calm. I was just like, calm about it.
Yeah.
I didn't make no fuss about it. I was just like, you got it. You won this. I can't do it. Now from this point on, whatever happens, happens. I'm not coming to your rescue no more. None of that. My son stays here. He goes nowhere with you. So
maybe do we need to fast forward to like the incident? Like, are you at that point?
No. So we almost there. But
okay. Wow.
Other things that you got to ask.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, and it's like, there was a moment. There was a serious situation that went down, and it feels like it happened in kind of a few phases. Yeah, and I know what you told me, but there's always a point where it's like, oh my God, that did not happen. Yeah. I want you to take us to that point where, and when I talk about it, you were forced to jump, right? Yeah. You were forced to, but I want tell us about the moments that led up to that, and then what actually happened. That was the tragedy that actually happened.
Okay, so fast forward into November. It was November the 17th is when the incident happened.
Yeah.
But the day before, I had 24-hour duty. And if it's anybody on here that don't know, it's called staff duty, but it's a 24-hour duty where I work from 9 o'clock in the morning on the 16th to 9 o'clock in the morning the next day on the 17th. So, I did my staff duty, got off the next day, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to just get a couple hours of sleep, wake up about 1 o'clock. We need to go to the grocery store. We got some running around to do. We can stop by the liquor store if you want to. We can do whatever you want to do today. It's just going to be a chill day because it's the weekend too. So, it's just one of those, We just gonna chill out. And our son's birthday was coming up. His birthday is on the 20th of November.
Mm-hmm.
And the incident happened on the 17th of November. So like I told her, like, we really don't have to do a lot because we're getting ready to celebrate for his birthday. So I just cook up some stuff and we just sit at the house and we have a good day. So we took him out, let him run at the park and stuff like that. Good day, good perfect day. Like no arguments, no nothing. We had a good day. We was able to get out and get some stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Home, bathed son, gave him something to eat. He laid on down and went to sleep. So it was just us. So we were downstairs drinking, talking, and having a good time. It was just us. So it's like we at home, so we can drink as much as we want to. I don't drink to get drunk. I can't stand it. Sometimes I do, but in this situation, this was like right when I really started drinking, and I didn't like this. I didn't like the feeling of being drunk.
Yeah.
So after 2 or 3 shots, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling it now. So I'm about to
Now
go.
I was taking shots. Oh Lord, have mercy. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So like, I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna go lay down because we was downstairs in the kitchen, and she was on the phone with her cousin. So I was like, y'all finish our conversation. I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna find a movie or something.
Right.
So I went upstairs and I was gonna play the game at first. I'm like, no, I'm gonna lay down, wait for her to come up here. So I trying to find a movie, and she came upstairs and we were grown. We did our grown people thing, when she came upstairs. So that just, just how it goes in a marriage. So
right.
Once we was done, she wanted to keep going, but I was like super duper tired. I'm like, listen, I'm running off for 2 hours of sleep right now, and I'm drunk. So like, I'm kind of tired. But I'm like, if you let me lay down, try to regenerate some of this energy, I get back with you.
Mm-hmm.
You wasn't having it. So,
you said she wasn't having it.
She wasn't having it. She was
okay.
So that made her mad. That right there made her mad when I fell asleep because she wanted to keep having intercourse, and I was like, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I ended up falling asleep. I was asleep for a good 10, 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
She was sitting right beside me, but then she ended up getting up and she walked out of the room. And then, like 2-3 minutes go by, something clicked in my head and was like, Eric, get up and get up fast. When I got up, I opened my eyes. I'm like, I see her walking in the room. I'm like, what you doing? And then I got up. I'm like, what you doing with that knife in your hand? You cooking something? Like, you got something down there you cooking? Like, I'm confused on what's going on. So
now, just to catch everybody up real quick, Eric is at the point where he is telling this piece of the story where the very obvious, the culmination of things, it has gone, is fully grown now. So this is where it really gets a bit scary and the story gets really real. Go ahead, Eric.
So she just saying under her breath, so you're not gonna pleasure me like I pleasure you. And she's repeating this over and over again. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I want to keep going, this and that, this and that. I'm like, okay. I was like, now I'm up. Now I'm fully alert. You done brought this knife in the room. I'm not with that wicked foreplay. I'm not with all that. So, like, what's up? Like, why do you have a knife? So, I tell her, I'm like, put the knife down. When you put the knife down, this can go how you want it to go. But if you don't put the knife down, I'm not doing nothing. So, I stuck my arms out like, put the knife down. And I guess she thought that I was trying to charge at her. But we had at least 3 feet in between us. So, like, I was super duper far away from her. And, I reached out and I'm like, man, come on. Like, you got to put the knife down. Like, we cannot go about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a person that talks with his hands. I talk with my hands a lot, and I can't help it. But, I walk towards her, and I'm like, listen, put it down. I'm talking to her like I'm calm because I don't know what she's finna do, but I don't want to jump too far. I mean, I don't want to move too fast or something like that.
Yeah.
And, I walked up, I'm like, come on. I put my hands out like this. I'm like, you got to put the knife down. So, I did the dummy, and I was like, put the knife down. And I tried to grab for the knife. And when I grabbed for the knife, she moved to the side, and she went under my hand, and she stabbed me in my thigh on my right side.
On your thigh?
Yeah, like my inner thigh. So
yeah, okay.
Like, yeah, so it wasn't as deep as the other one, but she drew blood.
Mm-hmm.
And um, when she did that, I'm like, come on, man, like, what are you doing? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrapped my leg up and I walked out of the room because like now I gotta get out of here. Like I gotta try to find a way to get out. I
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get out. My son in the other room sleep, the door closed, so he don't know what's going on.
And so
So
now at this point, she still has this knife
in her hand, yes, she still
in
has.
her hand. Your leg is wrapped. You're trying to get out of this house away from her.
Yeah, so I was trying to find a change of clothes because I didn't have no clothes on. Like all I had was like I think like a t-shirt and some underwear or something. I can't remember.
Right.
So I go downstairs to the dryer and I'm like, I gotta throw something on real quick. I couldn't find nothing, so I just I threw my work pants on.
Yeah.
I was like, them big enough for me to get it around this wrap. So I was like, I gotta go back upstairs. I gotta get my keys and I gotta get my cell phone. So I'm like,
Yeah.
boom, let me go upstairs. So I go back upstairs. When I go back upstairs, she's still up there. Grab my keys, put them in my pocket. I'm like, where my phone? Phone by the bed on the charger.
Mm.
Over there, and my phone was gone. She walked out of the bathroom and walked into the room, closed the door, and she locked it. And she had my phone in her hand. And I'm like, can I get my phone so I can go? Like, I'm bleeding and I really need to get out of here. She's like, let me get the code to your phone. I was like, why do you need my phone code? You know it. It doesn't change.
Mm.
She was like, I'm going to ask you this one more time. What's your phone code? I was like, you have my phone. And when I said, you have my phone, she stabbed me again in the chest. And when that happened, it was one of those situations where I didn't bleed. I didn't bleed as soon as like she pulled it out. One of those situations where when it hit me, it just felt like she like raped me and like pulled it back because I
Yeah.
didn't see no blood. I didn't see nothing, and like I didn't have no matter of fact, I didn't have no shirt on. I didn't have a shirt on at all. So when she did that, um, it took
Mm.
to start bleeding, but I looked at it, I was like, oh, I'm good. So I started moving around trying to find something to put on, and I got hot, like whole body from head to toe just got hot, like super duper hot. And I'm like, man, I don't feel good. And then I look down, I'm like, oh, like I'm bleeding like bad, like this is horrible. Like I'm talking like it's everywhere. It's all on the walls. It's all on my pants. It's all on me. Like it's everywhere. So I'm like, hey, can you call the ambulance like ASAP?
Yeah.
At this point, she's still mad. She's like, nah, you gonna die right here. I'm like, wow, really? And I'm calm. Like I'm not even like screaming or yelling. I'm calm, and it's because of the alcohol, which my adrenaline was pumping, and the alcohol slowed my heart rate down. So it's like my heart wasn't beating fast or anything like that. So
And this is your wife who has now stabbed, just to catch everybody up and even myself. The first stab was in your leg.
mhm,
The second one was in your chest. I don't know how close to your heart that was. I guess you found that out later.
it was right here,
Okay.
like right there,
Wow.
like right there. So
And her point was, you gonna die right here, right here.
yeah, so at
Mm.
that point I was like, you know what, I got to get out of here. So I wrapped my chest up and I get downstairs and I'm like, can I get my phone please so I can go? She took my phone and she broke it. Like she threw it down, boom, it shattered in like 7 pieces. So I'm like, oh my god. So I get out the door and I run to the neighbor's house, knock on the door, nobody answer. I'm like, it's cold out here. I think I'm dying. I need help. So I'm just knocking on doors, like knocking on doors, knocking on doors. Nobody's coming to the door. Everybody's
Mm.
asleep. Like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I finally get to this one neighbor house. I'm knocking on the door, and she answered, and she like, Eric, what's wrong? Because she knew me, but she knew me because she worked at the hospital.
Yeah.
You okay? I'm like, no, I just got stabbed. I need help. I need you to call the ambulance or something. I don't have a phone. I don't have nothing. So she pulled me in there and she wrapped me up until the
Yeah.
got there. And you know, people always say you do dumb things when you're in love. You say dumb things when you're in love. And in that situation, I said some real dumb stuff that night because when the paramedics got there, he was like, "Sir, how did this happen?" I said, "Sir, I was drunk and I slipped and fell in the kitchen."
Oh my gosh.
I told them that I slipped and fell over the dishwasher and I fell into a knife. They weren't buying
Of course not.
it. They weren't buying it. So by that time, the police got there. Police was like, "What happened?" And he was like, "Before you lie to me, you might want to tell me the truth." I was like, "Man, I got stabbed or whatever." He was like, "Say no more." Where's she at? I was like, "She at the house." So I get put on the back of an
Now,
ambulance.
just to be clear, had the cops been called to y'all place before?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's one of those situations where they've been there before, like once or twice. Like I say, like if we get too loud arguing, or
Yep.
one situation was my son was a little too loud, banging on the walls, and they thought something was wrong. But that's just the glory of living on post. If somebody thinks something wrong, they're gonna call the police. So I get in the back of the ambulance. I go down to the hospital, and I get there. They pulled me in. The paramedic told the doctor like, "Hey, I think he's okay. I didn't see nothing wrong, or nothing like." They were like, "Well, what happened?" And he was like, "Well, that's a stab." And I don't
Damn.
I don't know what happened. All I know is I looked down. It was just one doctor standing around, and then I looked up. It was like 30 of them. I was like, "What's going on?" Like I'm confused. Like what is this? What's this? So the doctor was like, "This is an emergency situation. So we're gonna have to put you in surgery. It's an emergency. It's an emergency. It's an emergency." I'm like, "Oh my god, okay." So he walks up and he sticks two fingers inside of my stab wound.
Ah.
I'm like,
Mm.
I'm like, you know, it was weird. I really couldn't feel nothing, but it was still weird at the same time. Like I feel your hands crawling around, like, and he was like,
Right.
feel around to make sure there's no internal bleeding or nothing like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, he was like, yeah, I think something is open back here. And like he was just digging around. He's like, yeah, we're gonna have to have a surgery. So the next 3 days of my life were blank. I don't remember nothing for the next 3 days. When I woke up, it was my son's birthday. When I woke up, it was Monday. It was Monday, the 20th. And they was like, yeah, you underwent 2 surgeries, and I got put into a medically induced coma.
Mm-hmm.
And when the sedation wore off, and I was supposed to be back up, I didn't get back up. And they had called my parents, like, if y'all don't get here fast, y'all might not be coming to a living son. Y'all might be coming down here for a
Right.
funeral. So it's one of those situations where like I would wake up throughout the time that I was there. Like I would wake up throughout the night and stuff like that. Like I was alive,
Right.
but it was one of those situations where they didn't know what was going to happen at this point.
Now let me catch y'all up real quick. This is Erik Vasser, and he is at the point of telling a story where his wife at the time, so ex at this now, found herself angry, essentially angry because she wouldn't give him, he would not do the sexual favors that she wanted at that time, and got so frustrated, at least that was what it appeared to be, that she stabbed you a total of 2 times.
Yes.
First time in his leg, second time in his chest, almost abdomen area, which put him in the hospital in such a state where he may not have made it. Medically induced coma, to have 2 surgeries. Time has passed. You wake up, not even sure how long if you're gonna make it. I guess it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I don't know where she is. All that. Where is she?
Oh, so she was in jail. So
She
like
was in jail. Because I needed to know. Like, where is she at?
she was in jail. I guess she went forth and told them part of what happened.
Yeah.
When that happened, it went
Mm.
it went from the MP straight to the feds. Like the feds was down at the MP station for her, and they transported her off post to Lexington County, and it was federal the whole entire time. So like
Wow.
the moment that they, because I'm government property, quote unquote,
Right.
and it happened on a federal, ground. It was federal
Right.
ground, Jackson. So, she was in jail, and I can remember me waking up one morning, and I want to say it was like Sunday morning before my parents got there. No, Saturday morning.
Okay.
It was Saturday. No, it was Sunday because I was asleep all day Saturday. It was Sunday morning.
Okay. Okay.
I asked the doctor, I'm like, where my son at? And I asked about her too. and she lied and was like, "Oh, they coming, they coming, they coming."
Right.
And then the doctor came back and was like, "Well, your mom, your dad, your sister, and your brother-in-law on the way." I was like, "Yeah, right. If they come, it's gonna snow in South Carolina." Like, my parents don't travel for nobody, but so I ended up going back to sleep. So Monday morning, I want to say about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I heard my daddy voice, and they say every machine in there went off. Beep, beep, beep,
Mm.
beep. Everything went off. So when I heard his voice, I woke up. They was like, "This is the livest he's been since the surgery happened." I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's your voice or what. But
Yeah.
when I heard my daddy voice, I got up and I was talking. So trying to talk, I still had a tube going down my throat. I had a couple of them going down my throat. It was a lot going
You
on.
were messed up, dude.
Oh my goodness, it was terrible.
You were messed up.
I don't wish
Like,
that on.
I mean, when you think, I just gotta ask you this question. Like, when you think back to the beginning of the relationship, like who she was, how you met, your interactions, like this stuff, this stabbing, this almost a murder. Thank God you made it through. When you rewind the tapes and you look back, are you like, how? Gosh, okay, that kind of was a telltale sign, or I should have noticed it when this happened. Like when you roll back the tapes,
It wasn't. It's nothing. It's nothing to take from them. Everything was.
wow.
Everything was everything. I mean, and it happened so fast. She got pregnant. I left. I graduated basic training. Came home for Christmas. Went back to school. Graduated school. Went home for 2 weeks before I got on the plane. Got on the plane. Came back home, and 6 months later, I get stabbed. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it went. That
So
just played. So we really didn't have no one-on-one time together, and we just jumped into
uh-huh.
it. New. So it's a whole bunch of emotions going on. I know that you stressed, but she really didn't have to stress because everything that she wanted, she had. Car, all the clothes she needed.
Do you feel like looking back on it, and again, I used to ask myself this question. So when I ask you this, I'm not saying, but do you feel like I really didn't know her then? I didn't know her. Like I didn't know her.
I knew her to a point where I knew that I could trust her. Like when it's time for stuff to get finished, when it's time for stuff to get done, I know that I can count on her to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not fully going to get on here and just bash her as a person because that's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
She have good qualities as a person, and when push came to shove, when stuff needed to be done, I could trust her to get it finished. And
Okay.
we had that type of relationship where, all right, we got this coming up. We got to put this much money to the side. We got to make sure we don't spend it. When it came to stuff like that, when it came to being adults, she was all that I could ask for in a wife.
Okay.
The other stuff with it, I'm in the military. I drive a nice car. I'm a nice looking guy. I'm not ugly. And, it's just one of those situations where she's battling a lot within herself. And she want to drag me into that hole. And that's not me. I'm a social
That's
person.
not you.
So when I get out, I like to talk to people. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm meeting people and I'm talking to people. I can't help that I'm a social person. That's just me. And she wanted me to try to change that. And I'm like, I really can't change that. I can't change who I am.
I'm gonna shift gears with you just for a second because one of the things I know is that when people go through abuse and they survive it, it gets really hard because I know for me, I was and still am a corporate America type, right? So I work in this and I've been in it for years, and it was really, really hard for me to tell people that I was going through something at home because I believed that if they knew, then they would look at me differently. They would think, well, if she's allowing this to happen to her at home, then how in the world can she be effective at her job? How can she lead this project? She's supposed to be this powerful person, but yet at home, all this nonsense is happening. And look, I felt like I would be judged in that way. So I kept it a secret for as long as I possibly could. Now, you, on the other hand, right, you're a military man. And I asked you this question earlier, and I wanted to kind of share this with the group. Do you feel like people questioned after your manhood, your leadership, your ability, your to help?
Everything, every challenge in that aspect. Like, can we trust him as a soldier? Can we trust him as a person? Is he gonna flip out on us because of what happened to him? Like, it was a lot that was questioned. But once I proved all of those stereotypes wrong, and I kept working, I was still my same self. I still showed everybody the same respect. I was still, that hard working person, first person
Yeah.
out. Like, I did not let what happened to me knock me to a point to where I knew I wasn't gonna be able to get back on my feet.
Yeah.
And that just, I mean, and you know, I got to give a shout out to my mom, my grandma, both of my grandmas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just my mom's side of the family, because that side of my family is probably one of the strongest families in the area that I'm from. And
Mm-hmm.
I say that because we lost like 4 people in a year. Like,
Yeah.
with over a year time frame, I lost my grandma, I lost my uncle, my 2 uncles, and my granddad. Like, all over in a year time frame. It's like every time it was a funeral, it was for us. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, we all still stick together as a family. And my grandma always told me, if don't nobody else got you, you got yourself. So,
Yeah.
you know, my grandma was a strong church going woman, and to this day, you know, she still hold that same place in my heart that she did as a kid. And you know, when I lost her, you know, I kind of lost a part of myself, but I got it back. And you know, it's just one of those situations where I've always stood on being strong and being independent and being for myself. So,
Mm.
you know, that's just how it went. Like, it's my job, so
Right.
I gotta bounce back somehow. I had to bounce back quick, but I had to bounce back hard. You know, and when I bounced back, everything shot up. Everything was good. You know, and I ain't got no complaints. So,
Yeah. I mean, and so now I'm gonna take you back to where you were in the hospital, your family was there. How long did you end up being in the hospital in total?
I was in the hospital for almost a month.
Oh my gosh.
I spent my son's birthday in the hospital and Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out like right at the end of November. Like,
Right.
that's when I got out, like November the 30th or something like that. So like I was in there from the 17th to like the 30th. So it was almost, you know, roughly about 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So I was there for a while, and about a lot of people came by to check on me. A lot of people, the post sergeant major and the commander, they came by to check on me. They blessed my family with, I think, like 2 $500 gift cards to the commissary for Thanksgiving.
Amen.
You know,
Amen to that.
it was one of those situations where when that happened, it impacted a lot of people.
I bet it did.
You know what I mean? And you know, it was just one of those situations where I was just like, I never let this happen to me again. Like, I
Yeah.
never, never.
You sound like me. Nair, not even a V. Ain't nair happening again. So
Yeah,
so let me just. There's a couple people on, and I'm just sitting here thinking, like, gosh, like, guys, this is Erik. Like, this is a guy that, like, you could have been on my block, dude. Like, I could have knew you from back on Price Street in Philly. Like, it's crazy. And so having both of us being, people who have had success in our lives and forward thinking people, and to know that your situation is very different than mine. And by the way, it's 8 o'clock right now, but I'm in no rush because you got a few more things I want to make sure people hear. So if y'all on, stay on. There's a few more things I want to make sure that people hear about your story. One of which is how you were treated in the hospital. So you got the surgery side, the doctors, and who took care of you. That's one thing. But I want to get to the other side of how, as a man, you're laid up in the hospital, but what you were made to be, felt that you were. Tell us about that.
I mean, for about a week, I felt weak. I felt like, oh, dude, you the most horrible person. How you let a girl put you in the hospital? Like, oh my god, like, you got to be stronger than that. Like, that hit me. But then when my dad sat me down and he talked to me, he was like, son, this ain't what it is. This ain't worth it. You know what I'm saying? And once my daddy actually told me, like, you know, forget what people say. You know, you go through what you go through. Nobody should ever have to go through that. That's when I changed. I'm like, I'm ready to get out the hospital. And
Yeah.
after that, the doctor was like, Erik, you can't walk by yourself. I don't care. I'm walking. I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to, like, get walked around by a doctor or whatever. I was like, listen, I'm trying to get out this hospital. Like, I'm not gonna be here no longer than what I have to.
I know that's right.
So,
But Erik, you told me they flipped the script on you, didn't you?
oh yeah, but so I want to say like 2 days before Thanksgiving, some investigators came by, and the investigators was like, can you tell us what happened? And at that point in time, I wasn't really in no position to talk to nobody. So I told them, I was like, I really don't want to talk about it right now. When I get out of the hospital, we can talk about it. So the federal investigators ended up coming by. These were the investigators at first that I was talking about were the ones on post doing the investigation on post. But then the federal one came by, and she was like, well, you won't be able to get your son back because right now we got you as the aggressor of the situation. I was like,
wait a minute. Hold on. She said you won't be able to see you. Now let me just be clear, everybody. Let's rewind the tape. I keep saying rewind the tape. You are laid up in a hospital with more than one stab wound, clinging to your life, and this investigator comes to you and says, "We got you as the aggressor in the situation."
Yep. So
boy, did they have that wrong.
While I was in the hospital, the ongoing case for my son was going on. So that meant that my mom, her mom, my dad, her sisters, and my family. So now it's my family versus your family to get the baby. And my dad said he sat there the whole entire time and was like, "Ain't neither one of y'all finna get this baby. Y'all sitting here arguing back and forth over who's gonna get him and this and that and this and that. Ain't neither one of y'all gonna get him. They gonna keep the baby and then they gonna wait for Brutus. Brutus is my nickname. So they was like, they gonna wait for Brutus to get out of the hospital, and he gonna be the one to make the decision on who get the baby." So once they told me that I was the aggressor or whatever, I was like, okay, cool. So I ended up getting out the hospital. And right after I got out the hospital, I had to go buy another cell phone and stuff like that. So I had to get my number out to 1,000,001 people because I had a new phone and it started over. I basically started over, had to get a new everything. So I had to go to court. I had to go to children's court.
Yep.
This was the crazy part. When I read the docket said DSS versus me and my wife. Like, it was both of us.
Wow.
So it was like, now y'all just hit me with this. All right, what more to it? What else are y'all gonna do? So we ended up going to court, and the judge was like, well, I'm gonna appoint you a lawyer right now just so we can try to fight this situation and try to get it to where we can get an understanding of what's going on, because they still hadn't heard my side of the story. Nobody
right.
been in the hospital. Nobody has heard my side of the story. When everybody came to the hospital, I told them I do not want nobody here. When I came out of the ICU and I got put in the actual room, the room that I was on, they shut that whole floor down. They was like, ain't nobody coming in and ain't nobody coming out. And everybody that wants to come in his room, he has to okay them to come in.
Okay.
And they would come to my room every time somebody would buzz in and say that they were coming for me. Do you want this person here right now? No, I don't. Yes, I do. You know what I'm saying? So
yep.
Once I got out of the hospital, the investigators, they met me down at the courthouse. And when they pulled me to the side, we were talking. And once I got to unraveling my story, it was a lady and it was a guy. So the guy was standing there. I was standing up against the wall. The guy was standing like on the right side of me, and the woman was standing directly in front of me. So we were all just huddled up talking. My attorney was on my left side, and he was like, "You really don't have to talk to him right now if you don't want to." I was like, "No, I need to." This was on post, so I had to tell him what was going on. So once I got to telling him what was going on, I got to a certain point where I told him how everything happened.
Right.
The lady in front of me just started shaking her head, and she looked at the dude. And she was like, "See, I told you." And
as in, I told you it was her, not him.
Yeah. So
yeah.
In his head, it was my fault. And she was one of the ones. She was like, I didn't want to make no decisions until I heard both sides. And your side makes most sense. Your side, like, judging off of how the room is, I can tell that you're not lying. So after my attorney heard that, he was like, you know what? You got my word. I promise you'll have your son before Christmas. And he stood on that. So we had the first court hearing, and of course the judge was like, "Well, Mr. Vass, I'm not going to give you custody right now. We want to figure out what's going on." Okay, Judge, I got you. So we ended up going back to court like a week after. No, week after. It was a week before Christmas, like the 20th, December the 20th.
Okay.
And we go back to court in the morning. And my dad was like, "Well, we gonna go out. We gonna leave to go because my mom had to go back so she can go to work." So my dad was like, "You can either ride with us or you can drive." I was like, "Well, I'll ride right now because I don't really feel like driving 10 hours by myself in this big old truck that I had. I had a Tahoe at the time. Them things is humongous." So we go to court and
tell me they gave it to her. Like they just tell me they like.
No, so that happened like a couple months afterwards.
Okay.
This was DSS.
Oh, this is the child case, services case.
We go in there and the judge, he was like, "Mr. Vasser, I want to give your son back, but you're on a weight restriction." And from behind me in the crowd, my daddy said, "Judge, I'm staying here till my son get back on his feet, so he ain't got no weight restriction. I'm right here." And the judge was like, "Is that right, Mr. Vasser?" He was like, I said, "I guess." And you have
that's what he said.
The judge was like, "I'll grant you custody." So I ended up getting custody on the 20th and got back home. And this was like a Friday.
Yeah.
So they called me once I got home and they was like, "Oh, well, we're not going to be able to bring him till Monday." La, la, la. So I'm like, "All right, cool. I can wait the weekend. I can sit at home and chill out." And then we got out of court about 12. About 4:30, I got another phone call. "Mr. Vasser, are you available to come pick your son up?" Yeah.
Amen to that.
Most definitely.
Amen to that. So you got your baby.
So I ended up getting him back. At this point, she was pent with attempted murder. Like it was.
This is the part I have to understand. Like we got to tell this. So just to catch everybody up, we have now seen Erik go through this terrible situation, this ordeal where he was first stabbed in his leg, in your thigh, right, your inner thigh, then in your chest abdomen area, which sent you to the hospital for a minimum of 3 weeks in a coma, multiple surgeries. And it amazes me because the situation is like, gosh, I can't imagine it causing this. Like I can't imagine you almost losing your life over the scenario of she wanted you to pleasure her and you said, "No, I'm tired right now." Like it just blows my mind. So here we are. You have gotten out of the hospital. Now you went through some issues with the child services, but you got your son. Now we're at what happened to her?
So we was going back and forth in court for a while. So like I say, when they got my side of the story, it went from aggravated assault up to attempted murder. It went from aggravated assault to attempted murder. It was up there. It was up there. It was up there and it was stuck there. And they ended up sentencing her in May of 2018.
Okay.
So, it was a couple months in between there, right after Christmas and all of that stuff. So, and within between time, we going back and forth to court and all of this and all of that. I wasn't going to court. I was not going to court.
You personally just could not be in that space.
I couldn't be there. So I finally got enough courage and I was like, you know what? It's that time. So the day of sentencing was May the 15th, 2018.
Yeah.
And that was the first time she seen me. That was the first time I seen her since the incident. So this is almost a year, we've been apart from each other. So, of course, a lot of emotions was there. The judge was like, he got to the sentencing part. Well, no, before he got to the sentencing part, he was like, "Mr. Vasser, is there anything that you would like to say on her behalf? You're more than welcome to say whatever you need." And I'm like,
wait, is that more like I got 1,000 things to say? I don't know which ones to say.
I don't know what, what I'm saying? It was one of those situations. So I just told him the real, I was just real with him, and I was like, I might sound dumb, I might sound stupid, but me and her never be together again. I'm gonna just put that out there, and
Right.
you know, whatever you give her is what she deserves, because here I am, and I can barely function now as a person, but you know, I asked for a lighter sentence. I was like 10 to 15 years. Our son is 2. He'd be a grown man when he get out. You gonna miss his whole entire life. When you ain't never put me in no position to where I think you was gonna harm my son. So the man in me, the immature me was like, no, Judge, you're gonna stick with what you're gonna stick with. But
Right.
the father in me was like, no, y'all can handle y'all later on in life. She got to be here for the baby. So,
Wow. Let me just put a pin right there because bless you. I don't know. Bless you because in my situation, listen, they could have stuck him under the in 30,000 feet below sea level. Like I would have,
yeah,
and I would have been happy. So I understand the point you're making. Seriously though, I do understand the point you're making, which is one side of you said give her the maximum of whatever because she could have took my life, and here I am trying to breathe, recover, live, and start again because of her. But on the other side, you thought this little man right here won't even know her, and that listen, I go ahead, you got it, because I wow,
yeah. So the judge was like, before your husband got up here and spoke on your behalf, you was gonna do 15. He was like, I was just gonna give you 15 off the muscle just because of the
right,
So they ended up lowering the charges and everything. So she ended up getting off with like aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Like that's what she got off with. So her time got reduced heavily for like from like 10 to 12 to like no, from like 15 to 20 to like
two,
10. It's like 10 to 20. It was something weird. It was weird. The max she could get was 20 years.
right,
But they gave her like 5. Matter of fact, that's what it went. It went from 10 to 20 to 5 to 20. And they gave her 5 years.
they
They
gave her five,
gave her 5 years. They sentenced her to 5 years. And
yeah,
she ended up doing like a year and a half, and the rest is gonna be probation. But if she was to get in trouble for anything like that, she would go back for the rest of the time. So that's how it ended. And I couldn't ask for a better sentence because I was able to actually get that one-on-one time with my son. I was actually able to be a father, and once our divorce was over with, I was able to move on. And
yeah.
so,
So you see this question on the screen. This is from a really good friend of mine, Sarita,
uh huh,
who was actually in the Marine Corps, by the way.
uh huh,
And her question is, was that the first time she was so aggressive? So, I mean, that because when we listen to the story, it sounds like we went from arguments to attempted murder.
yeah.
But
So
were there other things in between there where she was so aggressive?
no, like the worst thing that she probably would do was like throw stuff, but like it wouldn't be directly at me or anything like that. It
You are
just
so nice, Eric. You are such a nice person. I
like
can tell, like, as you tell it, you're still being nice. So,
yeah,
like, what? What was she throwing? What was she throwing?
she would do petty stuff. Like she would throw my game system down the stairs, like stuff like that. Like like the stuff that I enjoy doing, she would try to keep me from doing it. Like I like playing my game. Like I'm not gonna lie, like that keeps me out of a lot of. That keeps me calm. Like that, my game is my safe haven. Like if I'm in the house, 9 times out of 10, I'm playing the game. Like that's just how
Yep.
I function.
I'm
And
gonna tell you something. When I teach, because I teach a lot about the mechanics. I hate saying it this way, the mechanics of domestic violence, because it sounds so, But I talk a lot about green, yellow, and red flags. And one of my red flags is I say physical violence of any kind.
yeah,
Physical violence of any kind.
yeah,
Doesn't matter if it's towards you or towards an object or toward a pet, any kind. So I just want to put that kind of out there in the atmosphere for whoever is listening, because that's important for us to acknowledge that whether it's the stereo in your car. I know victims who have gotten their cars destroyed. You're mentioning the gaming system.
yeah. That happened to me too.
Yeah. So
Question happened to me too. But this
there
was
might be some discovery you still got to do, Eric, about what and almost like a uncovering of what actually happened that led up to that.
like now that I think about it, that as far as aggression goes, whenever you're aggressive, like I look at aggression like aggressive on the person. Like I'm not really looking at the other, the more psychological piece. I'm just looking at the physical part, but it was normal to me. Like, to me, I got used to her throwing stuff. Like, okay, you want to throw it? Okay, I was used to it. Like,
This is a teachable moment for you, and I'm gonna tell you this, and this is because I talk about this stuff all the time. I let me just say this, Eric. I appreciate you. I told you this probably 1,000 times. I really do, because we don't get this side of it. And ladies, gentlemen, as you're listening to this, you have to understand that this stuff is no joke. So what Eric just said is, I love the trees behind you. He actually normalized abnormal behavior, right? You actually did.
yeah,
And this is not a slight to you. This is me just teaching a little bit. You would normalize abnormal behavior because it was kind of like, okay, it wasn't me. But the truth of the matter is, she was actually demonstrating that she was aggressive. She was just demonstrating it through another means. So we coming over. I see your front door. So
oh yeah, it was raining in the back, so I had to come to the front on the porch.
No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, just and I bet you, as you think through this story more and you start to, like I always say, rewind the tapes, as you go back over, the hindsight is 2020. Oh yeah, I remember that did happen. And you know what? Truth is, if I were to categorize that, that's unhealthy, that's abusive, that's unhealthy, that was okay, but that's unhealthy and that's abusive. So I am so grateful that you are okay. I know life ain't perfect.
Yeah.
But you're sitting here on this call, and let me just say something to the people who are listening. Eric is someone who, if you are looking for someone to talk to, whether it's a group that you are a part of or an organization or even your company that you work for, if you guys have any sort of action that you are, or advocacy that you are doing for domestic violence awareness, there's not just women going through this. There are men, and Eric is sitting here right now talking about it. So, Eric, if someone wanted to get in touch with you specifically and get more information about your story or have you tell your story more, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I'm gonna point down. If I point down, how my name is spelled across the screen, that is how you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Facebook is gonna be Facebook is gonna be the more professional way to get in contact with me.
Yep.
That'll be the way that you can reach out. Let me know what you need.
Yep.
Like she was saying, like, I do events. I do just about anything that you want me to do. I can talk about police brutality. I can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you want to put me in a room with a group of people, I guarantee you I can have an intellectual conversation and to be like, wow, he has a lot of knowledge. I read a lot. I read up on a lot, and I'm active in the streets, not in a bad way, but I'm very, very active in the community of Columbia, South Carolina. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows my car. And, it's just one of those situations where they know I'm a good person and I can have a conversation for hours. Like, I just sat on here and had a conversation for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Like,
that's right. That's right.
It's it's very, very easy to contact me. Just know with contacting me, it's a way to contact people. If you need anything, just inquire about it. If you got any questions, just word your questions in a way that I can understand, that I don't feel like they may be standoffish or, I know a lot of people have probably mixed emotions about the situation, but it's the reality of it. And
we got a new question. You see that pop up?
Question,
she said, Angelique, is the behavior not seen as abnormal because that is something we see growing up? I know that I grew up in a home where things were thrown. Does that make sense? The question makes absolute sense.
Yeah. I mean, and me and you, we had the conversation about what happened to me as a kid. So
yes.
As a kid, it was a lot that happened to me as a kid. I'm not gonna go too deep into it, because I didn't move past that, and I just feel as if your childhood really dictates your life. Like you can either take the good from it and try to make it better, or you can take the bad and change it. And people always say, "Oh, it happened for a reason," or it had no. I'm gonna put it in a sense like this: no girl should be scared to go home because she's getting touched on. No boy should be no boy should be scared to go home because he think he's gonna get a whooping. It should never be like that. that scars kids at an early age, and
Indeed.
parents don't want to take no responsibility for it at all. And it's
Mm.
just like, oh, well, that's just my disciplining. And some parents, they discipline too much, and some parents don't discipline at all.
Yep.
That right discipline is right from right, wrong from wrong, and not making your kid feel less of a person because he comes up short or she comes up short on something, or the situation that you hear about, you don't want to believe because somebody that's been a family friend or somebody that's been around for years. And I hate hearing that. I hate hearing how little girls are growing up and, it's men that, that come around the family or even family members that are, having their way with it because they know that they don't know no better, and
Mm. Mm.
it's just like one of those situations where that will scar a woman for the rest of her life. That would either make her want to have sex with a lot of men or not have sex at all.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, it's just how you make it. Your life is how you make it. But I really think childhood plays a big part because
I agree with you.
that's when you're learning. That's when you're getting taught different things, and that's when you're, oh, if I touch this, is it too hot? Or if I touch this, like that's really where you need to be either guided or you're not guided at all. And for a long time, I felt that I was guided. I felt because my dad was in the service, and I got a work ethic out of this world. So as a kid, I would cut grass, I would shovel snow, I would rake leaves. Like I always had that mentality to I need some money this summer. I need some
Right.
money this winter. Like
Right.
I always had that mentality. I bought my first car at 14, and I didn't even have a license. Like you know what I mean? Like it was just when I set my mind to do something, I do it. And my daddy always told me that, like, son, you got it different than a lot of people. Like you got a work ethic that I don't know where you get it from, because
It's phenomenal.
So it's just like take every situation serious. If somebody brings you a situation, if you got a friend at work that comes to you as a confider, somebody that they trust, and they bring you a situation, don't take it lightly. Like
Yep.
don't take it very serious, because that person that you were meant to help may go home and in their life because they just don't feel like they got no outlets. And
Yep.
with me being in the military, we are the lead. We are in the lead by a long shot in suicides in a year. And
Mm.
it's just knowing that we're in the lead of everything because we tack on so much every day. We do so much every day, and we still have to go home and deal with families. Like,
Mm.
it's kind of hard sometimes to cut that switch on and off, like work and home, work and home. But
Mm-hmm.
over the years, you get used to it, and I've got to a point now where the situation that happened to me, like I think about it, it'll be a week where I think about it every day and I can't sleep. But some days I don't think about it at all.
At
But
all.
I've learned
I'm the same way.
I've learned to cope with it, and it's got to a point where I really don't let it bother me. Now, if we've been honest, now I laugh at it. Like if somebody bring it up, I actually laugh at it now. Like it's one of
Almost
those,
like it's the
like,
irony of it.
yeah, it's like yeah, it happened, and like so what? You know what I mean? So, but
I, I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten to the so what. So
so
you,
I mean because you know
more my so what is more like, and so what can I do with what happened to me? And
yeah,
so what can I do with what happened to me?
yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out ways to let people know, like, hey, I don't, I don't take it lightly when people bring it up, but I still talk to people about it. I don't
Yeah.
call anybody if I want them to know, but it's just it's just how you make it and what you
Well, you
make.
know what? You're actually walking into this question. We're at the end now, and I want to ask you this
Uh,
because again, I told you I was on interviews where people were asking me or wanted me to answer questions on behalf of like about male survivors, and I'm thinking I can't. That's so inappropriate.
mm-hmm.
So although I could offer some kind of input, I don't know it all. So the question would be, what final thoughts? And I don't want to just say male survivor, but survivor in general.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically because you do offer a different perspective as a man,
Mm-hmm.
what final thoughts would you like to leave the audience with?
I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave you guys with this, and it's a saying that I've been working on for about a month. Um, Never ever put anybody in a situation you won't want your own self in. So if you don't want it to happen to you, I mean, and that goes back to, if you don't want to do unto others as you want done unto yourself. And it's just one of those things where whenever you are produced with a situation where you have to react in a way, it's just on you how you're gonna react. Like react in a way that you feel as if it's like your life depended on it.
Yep.
It's not worth swinging. It's not worth shooting. It's not worth stabbing. It's not worth your life. And
Yep.
if anybody is in a situation and they need to get out and they don't know how, it's a whole lot of outlets to do that. And if it's any males,
I was going to ask you to speak directly to the men. Go ahead.
if there's any males that are going through anything that they feel as if they're going to be laughed about, judged, or anything, my inbox is always open. It's open from 9 to 5 because any time after that I might be asleep. But I promise you, I will get back. And don't be scared to send that friend request. Don't be scared to send that message. Don't be scared to do anything because I'm going to give you the real. I might give you a 30-minute phone call. I might give you a 2-paragraph text. But one of the two things are going to go on whenever you reach out. So whenever y'all, if you need me, just reach out and I'll be there for whoever.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, guys, we've been talking to Erik Vasser, who is just an awesome person in general. Good man, good people, who actually is currently and has been serving our country via the U.S. military, had a crazy situation, unfortunately, of domestic violence, almost being killed by his ex-wife. And I mean, he sits here today telling this story, not because it's fun to share, but because it's cathartic for him. He gets some healing out of the process too, but also because there are so many that keep themselves silent. And I told you guys, this podcast is called Silent No More for a reason. And so I am grateful for you, Erik. I'm grateful for your life. I'm grateful for your testimony. Thank you to all of you who joined. We will continue to share this and keep sharing it across the platforms. There's a lot of domestic violence awareness groups. I do not know if maybe there is one for men on Facebook. I'm not sure, but I'm connected to a lot of them with women. Mm-hmm. But this story is powerful. And he's come back from what could have been the dead, right? What could have been.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful. Go ahead.
Whole new me.
Whole new you. All right. All right. So listen, again, if you ever want to get in touch with Erik, he has made it very clear. He is Erik Vasser on Facebook, just like you see his name right here, whether it's an inboxing or a friend request or whatever. He is ready, willing, and able to speak to especially men who are either going through it or have survived through domestic violence, or anyone who wants to reach out to him. If you're looking for someone to speak on the topic or just to get more information, he is a resource, a ready, willing, and able resource. So Erik, thank you so much. I will make sure we get this posted out on Facebook and live, and just keep sharing it with people because it's a message that needs to be heard. All right. Anything else? We are at the end.
No, that's it. That's awesome. Like I say, if anybody need me, don't ever hesitate to reach out. It's always outlets, and it's always okay to cry. Remember that. Crying is very much so therapy. So don't let nobody take it from you.
I know that's right.
I gave it to you if you couldn't use it.
I know that's right. Come on now. All right. Well, everyone have a good night. Erik, thank you so much. And I will be talking to you soon, sir.
All righty.
All right. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.